Have you checked the children? Put your little mad sometimes.
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
Sometimes that is better.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Hi everybody, welcome back to the Horror Show. I'm Marcia Parker.
Robert Duell.
And today we're doing another Patreon review. Yay!
Alright, so today's movie is Banshee Chapter.
Yes.
And our requested is by SK.
Yes, SK. Thank you.
Alright, so basically the quick gist of the story is reporter Anne is investigating her friend's disappearance after he takes a government-made hallucinogenic called DMT-19. And that's basically the quick gist of what the story is without giving away too much.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, she's a reporter,
well,
right?
she is a known reporter and everything like that. And even her friend from back in college, which she hasn't seen in a few years,
was the one who started this. He was the
Yep.
one that disappeared because he was investigating this chemical and he had all of this history on it. And he was trying to figure out, you know, what it actually did. And they videotaped it and it went bad. He ended up dying, I think, right?
I believe.
He died and his friend disappeared.
Yeah, something like yeah.
And so she is a journalist and she wanted to go back and research everything and find out what had happened to him because she was so distraught. There's implications of a back love story, but nobody cares. And then you get dived into more of a conspiracy theory type thing. You get a couple other characters involved. The guy from Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah, well, the cool thing about this story is that it's actually based on real government trials that they've done back in the day.
Well, like kind of LSD type
well,
stuff.
yeah, they've actually like this because this chemical that they use in the movie is actually from real government projects.
Oh, okay.
And they did these tests on real people and like towns and everything. I think it was back in like the 50s, late 50s or something like that.
Okay.
So yeah, that's where we get all the real footage and everything in the beginning, opening credits and everything.
Oh, that's real footage.
Yeah, most of that's all real footage.
Oh,
and everything.
okay, I didn't realize.
Yeah, that's basically from the Freedom of Information Act or something like that.
Oh, it got released.
Yeah, and that's when all that stuff got released. So
Got
that's
it.
one cool thing I thought they did with this movie is they incorporated the real government project that they did with basically in a sense, yes, there's a supernatural aspect to this movie.
Right. Yeah.
Without going too deep into it.
Yeah. That's really interesting. I didn't realize going into it that it did have some of the real factor in it. So that makes it a little bit elevated in my eyes and what I take not knowing that about it because it is a very, you know, low budgeted film with a key actor in it. But overall, I thought it was okay. To me, I mean, knowing that it made it a little bit better, that they were actually pulling something real and developing it into something more fun. But I didn't really, I don't know, it just didn't sit with me. I didn't really care about the characters that much. The acting was not my favorite.
No, basically,
you had to forgive a lot. The guy from Silence of the Lambs is the only talent on there.
Ted Levine, I believe, and everything. Also from Joyride, he was the voice of the trucker. But yeah, even him, like his character, how that was written, it was basically a cheap ripoff of Hunter S. Thompson, and it wasn't done very well. And I like his acting. You know, obviously you know him, you know, from I think one or two of the Fast and Furious movies, Silence of the Lambs, things like that. But he fell pretty short in this movie.
Yeah.
But
well, I mean, you could only do so much with the material provided.
Exactly.
You know, and he did his best to elevate it as much as he could. But I mean, you could just tell by with the writing and then the supporting actors and stuff. I mean, you don't really have a lot to go from there. And And when you go, we can jump from there from acting to CG because there was the CG effect, which actually reminded me about 20 different other movies on how they tried to portray supernatural effects.
It was pretty generic. There wasn't too much to write home about.
Yeah,
on
like
any of
dark
those.
black eyes or just like all white.
There's a couple of scenes I'm like, oh, I've seen that.
Yeah.
Supernatural. 15 years.
Yeah, so I'm like, okay, I mean, use what you got, I guess, but it wasn't anything.
No,
crazy.
like I didn't necessarily disapprove or dislike this movie. My biggest draw, like I brought up earlier, with it having real world ties and everything, an actual government project that they used to do, that was a cool touch. I really did like that, and that kept me more so engaged in the story than what I would have been if they went more on that. Sort of two more. A little more heavy, I would say, on the supernatural by this. But like I said earlier, there is that supernatural aspect, but we can't really go too much into that without being a spoiler.
Right. We don't want to spoil it for you. We want you to have an opportunity to experience it for yourself. And I think I'm glad that I had an opportunity to watch it. Is this something that's up my alley? Kind of. But it just felt so generic that it was hard to get behind. 100%. Like, it kind of felt a little boring just because I'm like, oh, okay, here we go again.
And the biggest pull off, and we'll segment into like cinematography and stuff like that, is the shaky camera. It felt more of like a found footage film than anything. Yeah. Like even on shots where you're supposed to be just sitting still looking at the characters, you could see them swaying back and forth. Yeah. It really took you out of it. Yeah.
It made sense in the very beginning when they were doing the home cam stuff.
Yeah.
That made sense. Yep. But then as you go through, it should have felt more cinematic. Than
exactly. It literally just felt like one big old found footage film.
Right.
Like,
and it shouldn't have been because it wasn't a found footage.
Exactly. There was footage in there.
There was
of
some
real
found
stuff,
footage, but it wasn't the whole movie.
No.
So they needed to do a little bit better on a Steadicam. That is for sure. The other issue I had, and I don't know if you had this problem, but I watched it on a DVD versus streaming. But I had a hard time with the sound. Like, I had a hard time hearing like the volume.
Yeah, I did. I had that too and everything because I ended up streaming it and whatnot. But it kept dropping in and out, and even between now we're talking about for sound and scores, there was nothing in this.
No, and I could barely hear anybody talking. I'm like,
there was more times I actually had to turn it up and whatnot, and then to get super loud, I have to turn it back down. Yeah, real inconsistent with their sound design.
And I don't usually make a note of that, but I was wondering, I'm like, since we did different mediums, if it was, and usually on like a DVD they can control and fix it.
Exactly. Yeah.
What really brought my attention to it was I was watching. Well, I had the trailers on before the movie, before you get to the menu, and it was so loud, and so I was like, okay. So I turned it down, and then the movie came on. I'm like, what? Like, I had it all the way up to 11.
Subtitles
on. It was all the way up to 11, and I couldn't hear anything. And
but it goes to 11.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Pete's like, put on the surround sound. I'm like, I don't think it'll help. And so I was just, so, I mean, it is part of your experience, especially, it just seems like they must have failed on the actual
and that also
film.
And it just reflects kind of on, I would say, on their budget, too.
On their production and stuff.
Yeah.
There's got to be ways to turn up that volume, right?
You'd think.
But we've done it a few times.
I'm no master.
Anyway, I don't know, But again, with the sound, there wasn't any.
Not a whole lot. Even for soundtrack or sound design, the special effects sounds and everything, even for the creatures and creepiness and everything.
Because you're like, after you take the medicine or the drug, people start hearing like
these voices,
and like
they start bleeding from the eyes.
Ice cream truck sound.
Yeah.
Like, it starts with the ice cream truck, and then you hear like little whispers, and they're like, they're coming, and I'm like, how do you know they're coming? Like, I never got like, how do you know they're coming? And then how does the guy who didn't take the drug hear it? But the people who didn't take the drug heard the noise too.
Yeah, and that is explained in the movie towards the end.
Because they, okay.
That's kind of a spoiler thing and whatnot. We won't touch on that.
Because they do things.
Yeah.
Like this, and then everybody can hear. So.
But all in all, that's I would say pretty much that's about our thoughts on this movie. I would say give it a watch and everything because there are really cool elements to this movie, but don't be expected to be wowed and blown away by it at all. It's pretty generic on.
I would say this is a movie put on just to have the experience to have watched it and put it in your belts. And
hell, even for background noise, it's not all that bad.
Yeah. Yep, but you won't really know what's going on because you can't hear it.
Yeah, true. So scratch that.
Just watch it, get the experience.
Throw some headphones on.
Yeah, there you go. Maybe that would have worked.
Maybe. I don't know.
noise canceling. I don't know. But check it out. Let us know what you think. If you've already watched it, go ahead and throw it in the chat box down below.
Thank you again for our patron SK and requesting this movie for us to watch.
And if you want to become a member of our Patreon, just like SK, and tell us what to watch, then please click on the link below and pick on the level that you want. You can either get cool swag or just tell us what to do. Your choice. Other than that, make sure, right? Other than that, make sure you subscribe, ring that bell so that way you are not kept in the dark every time a new episode does populate on our channel. And again, thank you so much for watching. I've been Marcia Parker.
And I've been Robert Duell. Thank you again for joining us once again on The Horror Show.
And remember,
stay scared.